President Trump's recent executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. I can't see anything wrong with that. The intent behind the creation of the U.S. Department of Education in 1979 was not to take control over education, but rather to support and enhance the existing system of state and local control over education. The department's mission emphasizes ensuring equal access to education and promoting excellence in education across the nation. The Department of Education was created to support rather than control education, with a clear recognition that education policy and decisions should largely remain within the state and local communities. So if you don't progress, we're going to cut your funding and basically restructure you. So basically, if you didn't do it, they shut you down. I don't know how that helps the education system, but that's basically what they held over top of these teachers and schools. The emphasis on testing and test scores often led to teaching to the test. Again, just give the students what they need to know so we can pass these tests, so we can get our money and keep going on about life and meet these federal mandates. So basically, the feds from the top down said, this is what you're going to do. In order to get our money, you have to do this. Expanding school choice in charter schools. Wait, this is a Democratic president saying expanding school choice. Okay. Number 5, use data to drive instruction. Developing statewide data systems to track student progress and measure school effectiveness. The race to the top sparked major policy changes, but had mixed and often short-lived results due to resistance from educators, parents, and policymakers. Adopted by 45 states initially, with strong backing from President Barack Obama through the Race to the Top program. Before CCSS, each state had its own educational standards, leading to inconsistent learning outcomes across the United States. But the failures, it led to confusion, teacher frustration, over-testing, and political resistance. Ultimately, Common Core didn't fully achieve its intended transformation of U.S. education, but it did reshape the conversation around the national learning standards. The ESSA shifted power back to state governments to education standards, to set education standards and policies. So let's look, this all sounds much better than the No Child Left Behind, which was very rigid. ESSA represents a middle ground between strict federal control from the No Child Left Behind and full state autonomy. But its effectiveness depends on how each state implements it. The federal government became the bank, the loan officer, and the revenue stream. In 1958, the first federal student loan program began with the National Defense Education Act. In 2010, under President Barack Obama, private banks were removed from the federal loan process, making all new loans direct loans issued by the U.S. Department of Education. In 2010, under President Obama's Student Aid and Fiscal Responsibility Act, the federal government took over student lending directly. This move eliminated the middlemen, the banks and the lenders. Well, it says that it saved taxpayers billions. Student loan debt is a major revenue source. The U.S. government collects billions in interest from student loans. The federal government now owns over $1.7 trillion in student loan debt, and some argue it shouldn't be in the loan business. The Department of Education enforces Title IX, gender equality, protection for disabled students, and anti-discrimination laws in colleges and universities. This storm has been brewing for 45 years, and no matter how much money we have thrown at the issue or reforms we have implemented, the result has been a mediocre outcome that has cost the United States more money than any other nation. Reagan believed the Department of Education was created as a political favor to the National Education Association. On March 20th of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order directing the dismantling of the Department of Education, aiming to shift authority over education back to states and local communities. Instead, they point to administrative bloat, with funds being diverted to bureaucracy rather than classroom instruction. The conclusion: President Trump's executive order marks a significant shift in American education policy, echoing debates that have persisted since the department's inception.